The Arizona Cardinals were included in a lawsuit filed by Brian Flores. What does that mean? The Washington professional football team has a new name with a brand new sexy ass logo. Cardinals are falling even further behind. And which player, on the Cardinals will 100% no way, no how be wearing an Arizona Cardinals jersey next year? Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. Let's go.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Get on in. The water's fine. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked on AC Cards. We're so close to the pukable title of LOC 2K with our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody who subscribed. You're making this so fun. Everybody who DMs us, who tweets at us, who comments on the YouTube page. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcast as well if you're just a listener. Really, really appreciate everything. And just because the season's over doesn't mean we're going to be gearing down. I can never drive stick shift, so I don't know what gearing down. We're going to be full throttle. Is that a thing? Full throttle? I don't know. All off season. This episode of Locked on Cardinals brought to you by Get Upside. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code touchdown to get 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. The Arizona Cardinals have been included in a lawsuit filed by former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores. We're going to be very careful with how we discuss this because this is very new. We're going to gear this more towards what we see and what we've seen from the organization and what could happen in the future. This is very new. Bo's going to take the reins on that. The Washington professional football team, the Washington Commanders, in the true Snyder way, the way that everybody found out how it happened was there was a zoom in of the Washington Commanders inside the stadium before it was announced to everybody, which is awesome. And that's Bo's childhood team at their finest. And which Arizona Cardinal that finished the 2021 season will 100%, no doubt about it, not be an Arizona Cardinal in 2022. Bo, I'm going to hand it over to you. Why don't you explain to people who haven't seen it yet? If you have seen it, bear with us. How were the Arizona Cardinals included in the lawsuit filed by Brian Flores?
Yeah, so Brian Flores is he's got a lawsuit that he's alleging racism against the NFL. And in the lawsuit, the Arizona Cardinals are cited because of how they handled Steve Wilks in his 1 year as the Arizona Cardinals head coach, saying that there was a double standard, that Wilks was fired, Steve Keim was retained, and then they moved on to Cliff Kingsbury, and Cliff Kingsbury was given more of an opportunity to build off of his first season. And of course, we know that K2 is still in the desert as the Arizona Cardinals head coach, but this is what it says, quote, in his first season, he was not given any time to develop the team culture. He was stuck with numerous burdens, not of his own making. He had a rookie quarterback in Josh Rosen. It says in the lawsuit that he was the 9th pick. We know that he was the 10th pick. And team GM Steve Keim was suspended for 5 weeks following a DUI during training camp. And the Cardinals had numerous injuries to key players. Mr. Keim, a white GM, kept his job while Mr. Wilks was fired. The next head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, went 5-10 in his first year, 5-10-1. Kyler Murray was a rookie quarterback, first pick, and he retained his job and was given time to improve. So, I mean, they are pointing out a double standard. And as far as Steve Keim goes and Steve Wilks goes, yes, there is a double standard there. As far as racism goes, I think that you can really kind of point to the organization's ineptitude more so than them being racist. I think the organization has proven that they are progressive, that they are not a racist organization. There's more than enough data that shows that. But as far as this season in particular, I mean, the lawsuit also, it pointed out, the race of Keim. It points out the race of Wilks, obviously, Cliff, but not Rosen. who was a white quarterback, who was also, they gave up on Rosen after one season. And it doesn't mention Kyler, who is multiracial, who's still their quarterback. It doesn't mention that either. Rosen, 10th overall pick, as I mentioned. I don't know how they screw that up. Just check out ESPN.com. Just look at where Josh Rosen was drafted. And then you've got, as far as Cliff's first season versus Steve Wilkes' season, it's just complete polar opposites. I know it's only a difference of 2 wins, 2.5 if you count the tie, but the Arizona Cardinals in 2018 had a point differential of 200 points. They were outscored by 200 points. Cliff's team was outscored by 81 points. Not great, but the team showed improvement. They showed that they could build off Kyler Murray's rookie season. Rosen, Wilkes, you couldn't build off of that. You and I were scrambling for reasons why the Arizona Cardinals should keep Josh Rosen. I think that there was nothing to recover from the dumpster fire that was 2018 for the Arizona Cardinals. Inside, it was all trash. It just was. Mm-hmm. And that includes Steve Keim. Like, you and I won't disagree with that. I mean, we both think that the DUI, the roster that he built or didn't build, he shouldn't have had a leg to stand on. And it was unacceptable. I mean, all of 2018, everything about 2018 was deplorable. And Arizona Cardinals, I just don't see it as racism, as more of just organizational ineptitude.
Yeah, no, agreed. Mike McCoy got fired mid-season. So, and he's white. So I don't know. I don't know about the rate, because, like, who are we to say? I have no, like, I'm punting on that. Okay, because I don't know. Everything else, like, if this wasn't filed due to racism, and you looked at Steve Wilkes getting fired and Steve Keim keeping his job, 100% it makes zero sense. Agreed, 1,000%. Steve Wilkes, maybe it seemed like, because he brought Al Holcomb over, linebackers coach from Carolina, seemed like very smart dude. Steve Wilkes seemed like it seemed like, as Brian Flores outlines, that was a college football team. Like, Sam Bradford, Mike Glennon, and Josh Rosen were all rostered by this team, and they were making a whole boatload of money. And David Johnson was their best offensive player. The first half of the first game against the Washington Professional Football Team, Bo and I were sitting in the press box next to each other. They were on the field for 5 minutes. Out of 30, they were on the field for 5 minutes. Like, it was a terrible, terrible roster, and no coach, in my opinion. And we don't talk about this enough, how he wasn't given another chance. Like, who knows?
Did you think he deserved another chance?
I think he deserved another chance more than Cliff Kingsbury getting hired. Yeah. He was in the NFL. He went on to be the DC for Cleveland. I know that was short-lived.
One season.
Yeah, but he's been, like,
and Missouri, their defense was too, where he coached this past season.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know. This wasn't like a Rod Chudzinski thing or whatever his name was in Cleveland, who got 1 year and they improved. I think that was the Josh Gordon year even, and they fired him. And, like, they were like, what the hell are we doing over there? Steve Wilkes, nobody questioned it because he was maybe the 6th person on their list that they wanted to hire. Right. They brought in everybody. And I don't know if it was, so I don't know about the racial aspect. I don't know. It could be coincidence. It could not be. But from what we've seen over the entirety of since 2013, was that Steve Wilkes is never going to get, or Steve Keim is never going to get fired. So I think it's more astounding. Coincidental than anything. But I don't know, and I'm not gonna pretend to know. I mean, like, we can prognosticate all we want.
Well,
but
I'm going to tell you
about
right
this is dumb.
It wasn't racist. It wasn't racist. Was there a double standard? You can make the case for it. Steve Keim should have been fired, no doubt about it. But when you look at all the variables that go into it, it was an organization that was scrambling to rip out the entire section of the 2018 season from the franchise encyclopedia. Like, that's all they had to. They said, we're holding ourselves accountable. Heads have to roll for what happened. They weren't really able to get to the root of the problem, which was Steve Keim. It wasn't an issue of Steve Wilkes is black, he has to go. Steve Keim is white, he gets to stay. It's more so Michael Bidwell is buddies with Steve Keim. Everything he knows about team building, everything that, it goes into building the roster, Michael Bidwell gives away to Steve Keim. And you feel bad for Steve Wilkes and his one opportunity to be a head coach. Hopefully he gets other opportunities down the road. I just see it as it was a horrible situation. You feel bad for the guy that he didn't get a good run at it. He wasn't given the best tools to do it. And then the organization was like, okay, we're gonna tear it all down. We're gonna rebuild and we're gonna move forward. And they went with Cliff Kingsbury
As
and
a complete overcorrection.
yeah.
It was a complete overcorrection from defensive guy to offensive guy. Like it wasn't, he had no experience and this guy had some, but we're going to fire him for some guy with no experience. We knew that was an overcorrection.
And look, around the league, and Brian Flores' lawsuit is justified. I mean, the fact that Adam Gase gets several opportunities, and there's guys like Vance Joseph, he's gotten a couple interviews here, and there's flaws in the Rooney Rule. Like the idea of the Rooney Rule to get interviews for minority coaches is good, but on the outside. But when you're seeing guys and what's alleged in the lawsuit that with the Broncos, they weren't even really considering a minority head coach when they were going to interview Brian Flores, and how they handled it, and they didn't take it seriously because their mind had already been made up, but they had to, satisfy the Rooney Rule. Like that rule is causing more problems. They're going to have to revisit that, and hopefully this lawsuit fixes the issues with the Rooney Rule, which it's unfortunate that it even has to exist, but to get guys in the door, that's important. And Bruce Arians, like to be a year removed from the Bruce Arians era, where Bruce Arians has been great. He hired the first female coach, and that opened the doors for several different women in this game. And of course, across Bruce Arians' coaching staff, he creates, gave many guys, black coaches, opportunities. Harold Goodwin and Todd Bowles and all those guys.
Byron Leftwich.
Byron Leftwich. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not happening enough around the league, but it happened inside the Cardinals' walls. And I think that the Cardinals, like for them to be lumped in here in that season in particular, I understand how it looks from the outside, but it's when you look at all the variables, it was just the organization was in a brutal spot, and they decided to move off of Wilkes. And I just don't think race played a role in it.
Yeah, and I mean, I would lend to believe you, agree with you, but I don't know, so I'm going to punt.
Okay.
Like and I know that seems, and like this needs to change. The fact that you're offering a 3rd round pick if a minority coach gets hired is insane. The fact that's how far away we are from people of like from minorities getting like that it's insane. It's something that needs to be discussed more. So Brian Flores hopefully will make some headway with that with his lawsuit. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. We'll keep our finger on the pulse of this. Like, that's as far as we're getting. I know we went long in our first segment. Sorry, David Locke and Ross. You can punish Bo later. If you want to give him a week off suspension, I'd love to do the show by myself for once. Follow the podcast at Locked on AZ Cards. Follow him at Bo Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Coming up next, jerseys. Every time there's a name change, a new logo, jerseys, color scheme, whatever, it brings up the age-old question: do the Cardinals need new jerseys? That's next, Locked on Cardinals. Something to get excited about, though, Locked on Cardinals fans. Get Upside. It's an incredible app. If you buy gas, which is pretty much everybody, you need to know about it. Our listeners are earning cash from every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents per gallon or more on your first fill up. Cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents per gallon or more on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a year in cash back. And there's no catch. The cashback gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code TOUCHDOWN to get 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. That's code TOUCHDOWN. All right. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack. Jerseys, Bo. What's up with them? The Washington professional football team is now the Washington Commanders. Who cares? Like you can check out Locked On Commanders now. The Rooster over there, Chris Russell, does a great job. And David Harrison too, right? David Harrison double dips. David Harrison does the Bucks and Locked On Commanders. They do a great job over there. Great content. Check them out for all the stuff. You want to hear more about what happened and the leak and and why they came to this decision that's the name and the color scheme. Check them out over there at Locked On Commanders. The Cardinals jerseys are terrible. And I am team get rid of bird on helmet. I think I'm the only team. It's a team of one. I want something sexier than a damn bird on the side of the helmet. And it could happen. But they're black, white, and red. Okay, Bo, I'm going to let you take the stage with another color scheme that you saw that you were very excited about. Have the Cardinals done enough to upgrade their uniforms? Or are you as sick of them as I am?
No, it's time for a change. It's overdue for a change. Like your franchise quarterback has already mentioned it, and now you're going to get into negotiations with him to keep him in the desert on kind of an even playing field with everybody else. So you've got to make him happy any way you possibly can, and to just go with the status quo as far as the uniforms have been since they changed them. What was it, in 2006? That long ago? I mean, let's go. I mean, you're long overdue for changing your threads, and you have to. I mean, Washington football team, they went from their old mascot to the Washington football team to the Commanders. So you can look at what 3 years they've changed, tweaked their uniforms, complete overhaul. I mean, they kept the color scheme. The Arizona Cardinals can absolutely do that if they want. You can go several different areas. There was one where somebody reached out to me and it kind of had like a Sonoran sand, kind of a instead of the white, it's just fine. You can there was a little hint of blue in the old uniforms, incorporating the flag. Cards need new uniforms on Instagram is a great follow. They bring up different concepts. Just do something. Whether it's like a hybrid between a throwback of what they look like when Larry Fitzgerald in his rookie year and what we knew him as the Phoenix Cardinals with, tweaking them with new age concepts. Do it. Add an alternate uniform for God's sake. Do something instead of just sitting around and just running out the same, 3 uniforms that they have the last decade plus.
Yeah, I agree. Get rid of the bird.
No, I never said the bird.
That's what you said, though. I mean, you pretty much said that.
The bird is something you keep. The Steelers don't mess with their helmets. The Browns don't mess with their helmets. The Arizona Cardinals can't mess with their helmets. You got to keep the bird.
Sure they can. Because the Steelers and the Browns don't have anything on the damn side of their helmets.
Well, the Steelers have it on one side.
Oh, yeah. But the Browns don't.
No.
How is the Browns organization doing? If I were the Cardinals, if I were Michael Bidwell, I would say, you know what? Scrap everything. New color scheme, new everything. Keep red, and that's it. Change it. Change everything. Proverbially burn everything else and start over. You know what it is? It's a new organization. All that bird on the side of the helmet means is losing. That's what that bird means. Because that's all the Cardinals have done since they were in Phoenix. So if you want to start fresh, skip it a bebop, get rid of that damn bird on the helmet. That would be so awesome. You know what? Let me ask you a question, because we're going to talk about something a little bit more serious next. What happens first? Steve Keim gets fired or the Cardinals get new uniforms? I
think the Cards get new uniforms. I got to imagine they have to do something this offseason. There's just too much of a groundswell for it. They can't be that disconnected from the fan base. They can't be. I know what reality is, and I know that they have done some really dumb things, and it's just been, the most closed-minded brain trust in the NFL at times. But I mean, at some point, the NFL is just like, hey, let's just do some things. Let's tweak some things to open up some sales here. You're telling me you don't want to sell some more Kyler Murray jerseys? Well, the way you're going to do that is you're going to tweak the jersey. Like, do something. They have to. They absolutely have to try to create some momentum. And there's going to be fans at some point because of Kyler Murray of this organization outside of Arizona. And people don't want the current jersey as it stands. They have to do something about it. I was looking to see if anybody was making any changes, if any, because a lot of teams like to set the date for when they're going to unveil something. Washington did it last month, the 2/2/2 date. They haven't seen anything. I knew that the NFL is getting rid of the rule where you have to have one helmet next season, and only 15 teams are going to take advantage of that and have multiple helmets next year. So it'll be interesting to see if the Arizona Cardinals are one of those 15. Probably not.
Nope, you are. You know what? I wish I trusted more as much as you did. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. And my answer is Steve Keim gets fired before they unveil completely new uniforms, because I think Michael Bidwell is like, I don't get it. Coming up next, there are. I saw the Bucks, their unrestricted free agent list. It's everybody. I was so wrong. I thought there were more people under contract. There was like 15 people that are under unrestricted free agents for the Bucks. The Cardinals, it's not that drastic. There are going to be a lot of people. They're going to either want contracts or they're going to be out. Which player on the Arizona Cardinals roster is 100% not going to be an Arizona Cardinal and will take away maybe a little bit of the easy answers, and we'll go more of a crux. We'll talk about that next. Bo, do you want to tell people about BetOnline?
Absolutely. Bet online. Yeah, no doubt about it, especially with the big game coming up. There's only one place that has you covered this season with more props, odds, lines than ever before as we make our way towards the big game. You want some Pro Bowl action? You can get it. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season and beyond. It's not just football. BetOnline has the minute info for pro, college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with real-time updates, current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Rock Auto, my favorite. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models and chain storefronts not being able to keep everything on the shelves for all the cars, they're already falling behind because rockauto.com's got you covered. First of all, you can do it in your pajamas if you want to. You go to rockauto.com and you just type in, hey, brake pads, please. And they show you brake pad. You put your make and model in. It shows up on your damn doorstep a couple days later. You don't have to drive down to the chain storefronts. You don't have to say, hey, I don't know what I'm looking for, please. Can you help? And be like, oh, sorry. Even if, we had that in stock, we don't have it in stock. So I apologize. RockAuto.com, you don't have those issues. You don't have to worry about getting upcharged 30, 40, 50, 100% on parts. Rock Auto has always been, the do-it-yourselfer friendly, and the prices are reliably low for every customer. They've got everything. Brake parts, as I mentioned, tail lamps, motor oil, carpet, whatever. Go explore the easy-to-use website today to find the solution for all of your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, right? Locked on in there. How did you hear about us box so they know we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. I'm in a weird mood today. Locked on Cardinals, Bo Brack, Alex Clancy. Follow him at Bo Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. We're so close to 2,000 subscribers. We started this in June, man. You guys are awesome. You are awesome. Thank you for everything. Thank you for, being around, hanging around, hearing Bo and I spout out stuff about the Cardinals. Thank you. So there's a lot of players that may or may not be re-signed by the Arizona Cardinals. Some of major consequence, Chandler Jones, Christian Kirk, Chase Edmonds, Zach Ertz, and some of lesser consequence but still importance, AJ Green. We'll see what they do with DJ Humphrey's contract. There's only like a Jalen Thompson is up at the end of next year. Like, do they want to get ahead of that and re-sign him? Feel like he needs to be an Arizona Cardinal for life, just like Budda Baker. The one player, Bo, that will not be an Arizona Cardinal come 2022 is
AJ Green.
Yeah, I was going to pull him out because that's almost too easy. Is there anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, a guy that's on the roster, Devon Kennard. There were times I forgot that he was even an Arizona Cardinal, and he came out with some decent plays for the team and limited snaps. But there's going to be about $4 million in dead money, and there's probably going to be about $4 million in cap savings. If you can put $4 million towards any part of this roster, you can find somebody that's more impactful than Devon Kennard. So AJ Green, Devon Kennard, I think both those guys played their last snaps as Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, and I'm going to be a little bit more robust, if I may. I'm going to say
Please.
Christian Kirk.
Okay.
I think it's a wrap.
To advance the story, he came out and said, "My house is not on the market." Internet sleuths.
That rascal.
Yeah.
That rascal just self-reporting. Yeah, I think it's Christian Kirk because even Steve Keim isn't egomaniacal enough to be like, that was the right draft, because he's been fine. But unfortunately for Christian Kirk, other second-round picks have absolutely exploded. Absolutely exploded over the last handful of years. And Christian Kirk and Andy Isabella are not two of them. Christian Kirk has shown that he is a wide receiver 3 floor, and we've seen excellence from him, where it's like, oh man, is he a wide receiver 2 in the right system? Is it really DeAndre Hopkins? Is that the reason why he's out? Somebody's going to offer him a lot of money, a lot more money than the Cardinals are going to want to offer him, I think. So I think Christian Kirk has played his last down as a Cardinal, and it sucks because I put this on Cliff. Complete misuse. I see fringe Pro Bowler. I see Pro Bowl alternate in Christian Kirk in the right system. I do. And I think that this system has failed him. Maybe it's Kyler Murray, who knows? But I think the system has failed him. And I think that's it. Like, you put him, oh man, you put him in Dallas, you put him in Green Bay.
Who's he gonna outperform in Dallas? No,
I mean, he'd be a perfect 3. Like, instead of Cedric Wilson, he's better than Cedric Wilson. Even though I think Cedric Wilson.
But you're gonna pay $11 million, $12 million for
no. But I think Green Bay is an interesting spot. I think Aaron Rodgers would absolutely adore him. There's Randall Cobb in him, for sure. You put Christian Kirk on. Oh my goodness gracious! You put him on Dallas or on Green Bay. You put him. I don't know. But
you see, it's like the Cardinals' record this season. Like, if you looked at it from afar and you just open up the standings, you're like, oh, 11-6. They played both sides of the ball well, but you didn't see it, play out, and you couldn't add like context or anything around like how they got there. And Christian Kirk is kind of that encapsulated into a player, like where he has these moments, these flashes, and he plays at a high level, and you see this potential out of him. But at the end of the day, especially when the lights get the brightest, he's kind of disappeared. And like he had an extra game this year. He played all 17 games. He didn't reach 1,000. I know it probably, if he hauls in the game at the catch at the end against Dallas, he goes over 1,000. That's probably a walk-in touchdown. There's a couple moments where he didn't have a lot of drops, but he had some key drops. And he could have easily gone over 1,000 yards. Like, Christian Kirk is going to be one of those guys that down the road, if you don't watch him game in and game out, you're going to look at the stats and say, oh, the Cards probably shouldn't have let him go. But what it's going to cost, and when those kind of came, and the consistency that he's lacked in the desert, it's just like, it's like the devil versus the devil you don't know. You know what he is. I would like to see somebody with maybe a higher ceiling, and that maybe hasn't created some bad habits here. Not to say he's got the worst habits. Like, Christian Kirk is a good wide receiver. He is. He's a wide receiver 3, fringe wide receiver 2. But, I want the Arizona Cardinals to aggressively pursue a legitimate wide receiver 2. And I think signing Christian Kirk to what he's going to command limits you in what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And it's not, again, I don't think it's fair. I just don't think his complete and utter misuse for large chunks of games just lends me to believe that it's not the right
Where
system.
is his misuse, real quick?
Well, he's not a focal point of the offense. Sure, it's on him in some capacity, getting separation, whatever, but he's never game planned for. And if a player isn't game planned for, usually they can show flashes more than what we've seen from Christian Kirk. That's pretty much it. Like, and I'm not blaming only Cliff. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that this system doesn't seem to fit his skill set. There's some disconnect somewhere. And I do believe in what we've seen, because there's a track record now. Players perform better when they're not on the Cardinals.
Like who?
Defensively, Devondre Campbell was an All-Pro this year, and Hassan Reddick. I know we had double-digit sacks last year, but they let him walk, and he did it again. He was even better in Carolina. He's going to get a massive payday this offseason. He might get Levante David money. Like, he's going to get a huge payday, not with the Cardinals. The Cardinals let him walk. The Cardinals had the option.
Stupid Kingsbury and those defensive players.
Okay, fine. They weren't the greatest example, but like, there are players that, oh, look, we're out of time. Like, you're right. I did mention 2 defensive players. But he is the head coach. I wish you knew something about defense. There's the spin. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. So Bo put out a good tweet on at Locked On AZ Cards on Twitter. Who do you want to see? Who do you want us to interview this offseason? That's one thing that we're pretty good at. Bo's not great at a lot, but we are great at booking guests. And just comment on who you want to see, and we'll do our damnedest to get him on the podcast, to get him or her on the podcast. We've got some stuff in the pipelines on our end. You're going to get our guest, I think, on Wednesdays, whether it be 1 or 2 segments. We're still kind of ironing that out. We're still kind of reeling from the fact that the Cardinals, played football for the least amount of possible allocated time after starting 7-0 and 10-2. So we're going to get our ducks in a row. We'll have a lot of great content from now until kickoff 2022. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. We'll chat with you tomorrow.